Barak, Yahweh, Alam, Shalom, righteous family. Welcome back to TRU-TALK. I ran across this video. I want to show y'all it. I'm gonna let it play all the way through. And then I got something to say. Check this out. And this video is called, by the way, it's called Student Get Uno Reverse on Caution About White Privilege.
Why are Black people in jail at higher rates than white people?
That's the question, right? Maybe because they commit more crimes than white people.
But that's not true. It actually is.
They do. So every independent analysis shows that Blacks have committed a disproportionate amount of crime. No one wants to say it out loud, but it's true. In fact, in New York, 52% of murders are committed by Blacks, 40+% of arson, 60+% of drug deals. And so the question you should really be asking is what drives them to commit crimes? That's the question, right?
So actually, according to the Uniform Crime Report for 2018, Black or African American individuals committed only about 1 million crimes, while white people committed about 4 million.
Yeah, so
but that's
hold on.
proportion.
Yeah, how about the proportion?
There's a lot more white people than Black people in the United States.
It's a 60% white country and a 14% Black country. So you just proved my point.
Okay. We all heard what was said. And this is the problem. Not with all white people, but most white people are delusional. And they act like reality is not reality. Now, I'm gonna play this over and I'm gonna dissect what's really being said here and what's really going on by the grace of the Most High.
Why are Black people in jail at higher rates than white people?
So the young lady asked the question, why are Black people in jail at a higher rate than white people? A curious for a question to ask. Now, I must say, I'm not a big fan of white people speaking for Black people. We can speak for ourselves. You know, I don't mind you being for us and fighting with us or beside us if you're fighting for what's right, but just don't try to be a voice and speak for us. And I don't think that's what she was doing, but I'm gonna allow this, even though I usually don't agree with, white people trying to speak for Black people, in this sense. But nevertheless, she asked the question and the gentleman responded with,
That's the question, right? Maybe because they commit more crimes than white people.
Now he said maybe because they commit more crimes than white people. Now, as we just seen the video, the white girl's gonna put up the data and she gonna prove that that's not true. That white people committed 4 million and Black people only 1 million. So the question is, why is there more Black people locked up if white people committing more crime? And also what he failed to realize is there's a difference between committing crime and getting charged with a crime. See, most Black people are charged with a crime that they have not committed. I can't think of the name right now, but it's this group of lawyers that's been going around for a while now. And man, I wish I can give y'all the name. But what this group do, it's been going around for years in setting innocent black men free. Innocent black men that's been charged with murder or some type of crime that they did not commit. And when you look at they file and paperwork, it's clear that they innocent. But they be in jail for, some of these people have been in jail for years and years before they get out. And the reason they in jail because of racism, because they live in a racist country, in a racist society, with racist cops putting crime on them that they did not commit, racist DA, racist jury, racist judge that would literally put these people in jail for years, these black men, these Hebrew men, for years, and some women, even though there's no evidence, or even though they know that these people are innocent. Excuse me. And there's no evidence to send them to jail, they'll still do it. Still has been doing it, still is doing it. So let's talk about that. Just because you get charged with a crime, don't make you a criminal. Or just because you get charged with a crime, don't mean you committed the crime.
But that's not true. It actually is.
They do. So every independent analysis shows that blacks have committed a disproportionate amount of crime.
So we're going to talk about that word, disproportion, in a minute.
No one wants to say it out loud, but it's true. In fact, in New York, 52% of murders are committed by blacks.
Now, he go give you a stats of what's going on in New York, the stats. And that's probably, I don't know the stats in New York, but that's probably is true. He said 50% are blacks. But then what? Are the other 50% whites? And that means it's half and half. So you'll still have to ask the question, why is black people going to jail at a higher rate? But you see, he talk about one city stat. But what about other cities? What about the whole United States? What's the stats of that? You cannot just throw out one stats and say in this city, black people commit 50% of the crime and do this and do that. But we're going to dig a little deeper in this.
40+% of arson, 60+% of drug deals. And so the question you should really be asking is what drives them to commit crime? That's the question, right?
So actually, according to the Uniform Crime Report.
So let's stop right there. He said the question is, what drives them to commit the crime? That's the question. And before he says all that, he says, nobody wants to be honest. Nobody wants to tell the truth. But my God, let's be honest. Let's tell the truth. And this is not me by any means trying to get my people off from what they do, because we as a people, we have, how can I say, become detrimental to ourselves. But how do we get here? Why does it seem that black people commit more crime than white people? Well, you can ask the same question, why are black people more poor than white people? Yes, let's go there. Let's be honest. If we're going to be honest and we're going to tell the truth, let's tell the truth. Let's address the elephant in the room. 300 to 400 years of slavery. You can't discredit that. You can't just sweep that under the rug. While your people was getting advanced, benefiting out the backs of my people, traumatizing the Hebrews, my people, Black people. And then after so-called slavery was abolished, there was this little thing called Jim Crow. And you know, there's certain things that we can name, but a lot of things that went on ain't got no name for it. Like what happened, we call civil rights and Jim Crow and all that. They got names, but some of the things that just happened, there's just no names to it. Like how our people was hung, wasn't given jobs, wasn't given opportunity, was turned down loans. Redlining, look it up if you never heard of it. How the ghettos was created. The welfare law that passed that told all our Hebrew sisters that the man had to get out the house and they'll give them a welfare check, breaking up the family. Let's talk about the war on drugs. That was really the war on my people, how they flooded our community with drugs. And these are not just conspiracy theories. These have been proven. You got documents, records that's open that you can look at today that basically admit to all this. You even have videos of a dead CIA and FBI agents on their deathbed because their country's getting to them, telling how they flood the Black community with drugs, to how they used to get certain people hooked on drugs. And unlike this opioid crisis that we got, since it's attacking their people, you know, they all sick, they need help. When our people was hooked, it was, oh, why are they doing drugs? They just like to do drugs. And since the young man was not given jobs or nobody was hiring them because they was Black, most of them didn't have education. The ones that did have education still couldn't get a job. So to provide for their family, instead of doing the dope, they started selling. And then you had a lot of dope being planted on brothers. Brothers that really was not selling dope, really that didn't get caught with dope, was getting dope planted on them and getting sent to jail. So what happens when you traumatize a people? You break up the home structure. You take the father out and you leave them with nearly nothing, starving in the ghettos. And this was by design, by the way. This wasn't just because our people couldn't get ahead or our people weren't smart enough or because our people wanted to move to one part of the town and just started drinking and killing and partying. No, this was by design. The government of this United States went to war on our people and still at war with our people. And they did everything in their power to make our people docile, to break up the family structure, to make sure the father was not in the house, to make sure that the only role models and images that we had of ourselves was thugs and gangsters and divas. This was done by design. So if we're gonna be honest, let's be all the way a buck with it. And see, this is why they don't want to teach true history. This is why they're trying to take history out of school. They don't want people to know what they people done to our people. They don't want people to know how much our people overcame. that it's a miracle that we even here today in the predicament as successful as we is. No other ways for to be able to even survive the stuff they put us through. They try to wipe us out, but by the grace of God, because we are His chosen, they couldn't. Talking about, you know, from all these things they used to do. From they'll have a neighborhood that was toxic. They'll be by some type of chemical or factory that would give cancer. I forgot what neighborhood that was. At one particular neighborhood that the government knew that this neighborhood was dangerous because of the chemicals coming from the factory. They move all the Caucasian, move all the white people, they people out, and sold it to the Negroes. And every last one of the Negroes that had children, their children came out Down syndrome, with some type of illness. And this was a known fact. And when everybody was like, wait a minute, there's something going on. All our kids turning out like this. And the government tried to blew the whistle what was going on, that nobody should have been staying there. This is not just one incident. This is multiple incidents over the years. You think those people got repaid for their money? You think these people got any money from their children coming out with cancers and half retarded? From them being affected? Government never paid them. But when you talk about the things that happen to our people over the years and continue to happen to our people, the injustice, the mistreatment, the unfairness, it's just so much you can't even put in words. And then he got the question to ask, well, why are these black people committing crimes? What's their problem? The old trick of blaming the victim, throwing a rock and hiding your hand. It's because this system, the government. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to diminish responsibility on my people. Well, we gonna be a buck, we gotta be a buck. If any other people were put in our situation, how would they turn out? We gotta get to the root of this thing now. We gotta get to the symptom. Let's be honest. He said we're gonna be honest. They really wanna be honest. Let's be honest. But then when the young lady bring out how it's untrue that there's more white people that make crime than black people, I'm gonna let you hear her say it.
According to 2018, Black or African American individuals committed only about 1 million crimes, while white people committed about 4 million.
Yeah, so
but that's
hold on.
proportion.
Yeah, how about the proportion?
There's a lot more white people.
And he said, and the lady said at first, that's proportion. That's proportion. There's a lot of more white people than black people. And that's true, but that don't change the argument. Basically what they're saying when he says that, what they're saying, say as a black people, as a black people as a group and whole, say like 7, I'm just throwing up numbers. Say like 7 out of 10 people may get locked up in the black community. Just in our community, 7 out of every black people may get locked up in the black community. You go to the white community, maybe 4 out of 10 people may get locked up in the white community. Out of their whole community, out of every white person, only 4 may get charged with a crime. In the black community, 7 out of 10 black people will get charged with a crime. So let's just say 70% of people in the black neighborhoods are getting charged with a crime, or as he said, committing crimes. But once again, being charged with a crime don't mean you committing crime. And let's just say 40% of the white neighborhood, or 40% of white people are charged with a crime. That still don't neglect the fact that, just like he said, there are 60% white people and 15% black people. Let's just go over that. That's the number they threw out. So there's more white people in this world than black people. And since there's more white people in this world than black people, more white people are committing crimes than black people. As the young lady stated, 4 million crimes have been committed by white people and only 1 million by black people. So that's the data, that's the number. The fact that blacks amongst the blacks in the whole, more black people are arrested than white people does not prove a point that, you know what I'm saying? Like it don't mean that. The only thing, if it mean anything, is black people are being targeted more. So if 70, if out of 10 black people, 7 people are getting charged with a crime, and out of white people, only 4 people are getting charged with a crime, then that lets you know that the police's focus is on the Negro and not the white people, even though it's more white people in this country. That lets you know that there's more Negro, Hebrew, that's being charged with a crime and point out to being charged with a crime than white folks. That's all that means. So when he said it in the beginning, when he talked about in proportion, or however he said it, that's what he talked about. When they talk about the data, they talk about, well, there's more white people than black people, but in the percentage, black people get locked up more than white people. That don't help your argument. It only help our argument. If there's 15% black people in America, and there are 60% of white people in America, but out of the 15% of black people, 7 out of 10 of them black people are gonna get charged with a crime. But the majority, only 4 out of 10 gonna get charged with a crime. And like I said, I'm just throwing numbers. That shows you the harassment. That shows you who's they targeting. And a lot of times, black people, we don't have lawyers to fight the cases, to get these cases thrown out or sponged off our records. Come on now.
Than black people in the United
States.
States.
It's a 60% white country and a 14% black country. So you just proved my point.
No, actually, you prove my point. Because once again, if there's more white people in this country and they commit more crimes in this country, the fact that black people are getting charged with crime more in their group shows that they're being targeted more. And let me tell y'all a story, because this ain't something that I'm just talking or I just heard. This is something I know. This is something I live. It's something I felt, something I experienced. I'm from Southeast Georgia. And I remember, as I look back, I can see the Most High giving me understanding in different ways. And I had this white homeboy. And from my white homeboy, I learned just how racist nice white people are, especially the one that be so nice to you, be some of the most racist white people. And it amazed me. But nevertheless, maybe one day I'll share some of the stories and things the Most High showed me through him about white people. But nevertheless, I was about 17. One day I woke up, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go look for me a job today. I had made a plan that today, that day I was gonna go look for a job. I was 17, I wasn't in school. My mama said you either work or go to school. I've been, living off my mama by time for me to get a job. In this small little town, ain't really nothing popping, but I'm gonna knock on some doors. I'm gonna fill out some application, something. I'm gonna see what's happening. I'm gonna see, something gotta give. Wherever I'm going, I just gotta find a job. No matter what it is, I'm gonna try to make it happen. So in my neighborhood, there's this, it's not an abandoned house, but it's an empty house. And it's a house that's been for rent, and it's been for rent for a long time. And like most of the things in the hood, it's owned by some white people. And, they kept the grass cut. They had a fence around this house, and it had a no trespassing sign. But in this fence, it had an opening, a gap, like, before the fence connect, it had like a gap where you can walk straight through, and it had like a little pathway through it. And we'll walk through this pathway all the time through this house to get on the next street. Because if you didn't, you would have to walk 7, 8 minutes straight just to make a left, just to turn, walk for another 7, 8 minutes to get on the other street. But if you take this shortcut, you'll be on the next street in no time. So it was a shortcut to go ahead and cut on to the next street behind us. And like I say, I've been living in this neighborhood for years. We've been walking in this path for years, never had a problem. So this morning, I see the police sitting, off in the cut. But I'm not doing that, and I'm not paying him no attention. I'm not doing nothing wrong. So I continue to walk, and I cut through the little path to go, on my business, like I always do. By the time I get on the other street, the police is pulling up with his sirens on, jumped out, telling me to put my hands up, patting me down, putting my hands behind the back, locking me up. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? And he's like, you just trespassed. And I'm like, what? I just trespassed? And he was like, yeah. Did you see that sign in the window? I'm like, sign in the window? He was like, yeah, there's a sign in the window that yard you just walked through that say no trespassing. And I was like, oh, no, I'm just cutting through. I'm not stopping. I'm not doing anything, to the house, to the yard. I'm always cut through here. It's a shortcut. And he was like, yeah, but you can't cut through there because they got a sign that say no trespassing. So if you step foot on that property, if you just passing through or not, that's trespassing. And he was like, you didn't see the sign? And I was like, yeah, I seen the sign, but I didn't think, I was doing no harm because I always cut through here. He was like, well, yeah, you trespass, so I'm gonna have to lock you up for that. And I was like, come on, man. He was like, no, you seen that sign. You knew the sign said no trespassing. You still walked through that yard. I'm just doing my job. So here I am early in the morning. It was about in the afternoon. I'm locked up and I'm thinking, man, what did I do again? Okay, I woke up looking for a job. How did I end up locked up? Oh, that's right, no trespass. See, every little thing we do, they're gonna make us pay for it. As a black man, you ain't got no excuse, no room for excuse. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no leeway. But at the same time, when I got out, my white homeboy, when we hooked up, he was like, I told him I was locked up, and he was like, "That's funny thing, man. I got locked up the same day." I was like, "Really? What happened?" And where I'm from in Georgia, the power company is called Georgia Power. And when you go out of the city limits, Georgia Power got these like big power grids that keep everybody power running, and they got these fence around. I don't know the name of it, but apparently him and his white friends and cousins got paintball guns, broke inside of the gate of the Georgia power grid thing, and shot up everything with paintball guns. And I was like, what happened? It was like, man, the police came, and it was like they didn't put us in handcuffs. They didn't put us in handcuffs, but they did put us in the back of the car and drove us to the county. And when we got to the county, he said they didn't take our fingerprints or anything. He said, but they did take our pictures. He was like, I just think they was trying to scare us. And they just told us not to go back out there and do that. And I was like, what? See, if that was my black butt, first of all, that's Georgia Power. That's government property. Breaking inside that fence, that would have been breaking and entering inside of government property. That would have been trespassing on government property and shooting up those people equipment and stuff with paintball gun would be destruction of government property. That's what they would have charged me with. And I would have got handcuffs, I would have got fingerprinted, and I would have been sitting in the jail. But he was like, yeah, man, I was like, so they didn't charge you? He was like, no, they didn't take our fingerprints. They took our picture, but if they don't take your fingerprints, then they don't charge you with anything. And he was like, they just told us to go. They just let us go and told us not to do it no more. Kind of, when they basically took their pictures to kind of scare them up, make like they was gonna take them to jail, but never put them in handcuffs. I never remind you, we both the same age. I'm 17, he's 17. I walk across the yard, get locked up for trespassing. He actually do break inside the gate with his white friends and shoot up things with and destruct the property with paintball guns and get a smack on the hand. This is the example that we go through as a black man in America, we go through. Now, where was the police at doing his job? Now, I can admit, yeah, I trespassed if you want to say that, because the sign said no trespassing. I walked through the yard. But the police seen I was not committing no crime. I ain't even told the police, hey, I'm looking for a job this morning. But you think he gave me a warning? You think he cared? His excuse was, I'm just doing my job. So when it comes to my white friends, them shooting up Georgia Power, why wasn't they doing their job then? You see that? See, when the officer came out there for my white friend, he probably seen, in my white friend, he probably seen his little brother or his nephew or somebody, his family member. But they don't have sympathy like that with us. It don't matter if you're 11 or 12. They don't see a family member. They don't see a kid. They don't see an innocent person just trying to make a buy, but we should get a chance. So stuff like that, did not commit a criminal act, but literally charged with a criminal act of trespassing that day. Just for walking through the yard. Now by law, I did trespass and they had a right to lock me up. So everybody can say, see, you know, that we don't have no room to make error. We get punished to the T everything we do, and we say, well, you shouldn't have done it. But my white buddies get a slap on the wrist for breaking into the power grid and shooting up the paintball guns. But this is the reality that we face in this United Snakes of demons. And these people, I don't know, they can't see past their own BS. It's like they just don't get it at this point. It's like you can't tell them nothing. If they don't understand, I don't know if they truly just ignorant of the fact or don't know now. Some people know, like this female, she understand and know, and she trying to raise awareness. But you got people like this dude that he ignore everything that this country has done and is doing to the Hebrews. He'll know all that, the trauma, the breaking up of the household, the drawing wars, the Jim Crows, the civil rights, all that, the not giving the brothers jobs, the mistreatment, and say keeping the Negro race in poverty and poor. And he say, I wonder why they committing crime. We got to ask them there, but what's driving these people to commit crime? And got the audacity to say, let's be honest and be fair and talk about this. But when you put their argument up, it's a cardboard house. It can easily be blown down. So I'm gonna let this play one more time.
Why are Black people in jail at higher rates than white people?
That's the question, right? Maybe because they commit more crimes than white people.
But that's not true. It actually is.
They do. So every independent analysis shows that Blacks have committed a disproportionate amount of crime.
That's that what I was talking about, disproportion. Disproportion means what we was talking about earlier. Meaning that Black people as a whole, more Black people get locked up when it comes to us as a group. Like 7 out of Black people may get locked up. And when it comes to white people, only 4 out of white people may get locked up or charged with a crime. And that's the in proportion because there's more white people in this country and they commit more crime. So why is it like that?
No one wants to say it out loud, but it's true. In fact, in New York, 52% of murders are committed by Blacks, 40+% of arson, 60+% of drug deals.
He said 40% arson. So what's the other 60%? Caucasian, perhaps?
And so the question you should really be asking is what drives them to commit crime? That's the question, right?
So actually, according to the Uniform Crime Report for 2018, Black or African American individuals committed only about 1 crimes, while white people committed about 4 million.
Yeah, so
but that's a proportion.
Yeah, how about the proportion?
There's a lot more white people than Black people in the United
States.
It's
a 60% white country and a 14% Black country. So you just proved my point.
No, actually, you proved my point. Till next time, people. Shalom.